Okay, I'm going to attempt to install this soft start Harbach modification to my Drake. It's kind of in position here. It's all the accessories and things that you get with the board, so they're all laid out there and counted and checked on. There's the board itself, and I do believe it's supposed to mount right there. I'm pretty sure even this is removed. So the reason I'm making this video is because there's nothing on YouTube about it, and this manual, although complete, doesn't have a single picture in it. So it's like, well, okay, the green wire that's on the left of the purple, and that's going to be tough. So I'm going to try and go through this as I build it and show my progress. And assuming it isn't all smoke at the end, I'll publish it and maybe be handy for the next person who does one of these. So let's see how it goes. Meanwhile, it says right here, read the manual carefully and reread and understand. Okay, I'm about to do that. It's exciting. I wonder if it was the butler who did it. Okay, the first two instructions were to disconnect the wire here from the meter board. This wire right here was just going to ground over here anyway, but you got to make sure that it stays as long as possible. And then disconnect the other one over here from these terminal strips. This the capacitor is removed too, and this little strip is removed completely. And you make sure that this is nice and clean, and this is clean because it's going to connect to the board. So that's the first part of it. I have to remove that now, but that's next. So far so good. Okay, the next step involved taking this blue-white wire here, which is connected to the relay. You leave it connected to the relay, but it was routed across under here and to the diode here, this terminal strip right there. So you unsolder it from that, fetch it through all of this, and reroute it because it's going to go to the board when it's put out here. So basically, that's going to be the soft key part for keying it. So anyway, that involved removing a bunch of ties, which tied wires together down there. They were pretty tricky to get out. So strongly suggest having a pair of these, especially the angled ones. It's made it much easier to do. Well, so far so good. We'll see how it goes. So we've got the blue wires here from the first steps. We've got this one here. Now I'm about ready to install a new blue wire from here up to the front so it can connect to the board also. So let's do that next. Okay, so the wire from here, from the anode, the blue one that they supplied is now going through here and out over here as directed. So it's out here along with the striped wire that comes from the relay. And so that worked out really well. I'll be using wire ties to clean this up when it's done. So if it starts looking like spaghetti, I may even replace these with wire ties because, well, I mean, these work okay. They worked for 60 years. I suspect they'll work for another 60. So far so good. Now, next instructions is to take a wire off of here and actually just put some heat shrink on it because it's not going to be used anymore. So I'm going to do that. Okay, the wire taken off of the relay here is right here with a folded over a little bit with some heat shrink on it, so it's out of the way and not a problem. So on to the next step. The next step involves removing this yellow wire from the bottom of the relay. It's a common connection, and they make it pretty clear to pull the wire off, clean it up, but make sure you clean up the connection, because this wire doesn't go back, but a resistor and another wire does. So pulling that out next. So the yellow filament line was removed from down in the bottom corner, the common on the relay. Another new yellow wire, which was provided, was connected to it. So I suspect there's, this is going to the board and this is going to the board. And a resistor was put in, and it went from the common, same one, to the pin that has the orange and white going to it. It was fairly easy to put in. They tell you it's really tight, but it's not so bad. Again, if you have a set of these, it makes a huge difference. You put the plastic over the leads to make sure nothing shorts out. But yeah, it's pretty clean, pretty clean setup in there. Okay, well, there's that step. On to the next one. So the next step involves, I think, changing out these two holes. I disconnected this, loosened it up, and you make these holes bigger with 3/32 bits. And I'm pretty sure this is going to go back with some standoffs here on both sides. And then I think these two here, which is connected to, it's holding in that ceramic coil. That threw me out for a while because I couldn't figure out where the ceramic coil was. I looked all over, there wasn't one. I think there's standoffs that go there, which is part of that. And they warn you a lot that that's not a, you don't want to tighten too bad there because it's going right into the ceramic or something. It's pretty tricky. So, going to drill the holes there and put the standoffs in, and I'll continue after that. So here's the two standoffs mounted on the terminal strip, and now to do some over here. Okay, put the two standoffs in with the little studs going down into the ceramic coil mount. I just screwed them in finger tight. They're snug enough, and it's not like this thing's going four-wheeling or anything. So we're good. We got our four terminals holes that will match up exactly with the hole mounting holes on this. And the resistor is going to be on the outside over here. So make sure you keep these nice and snug because you don't want them close to the resistor. Okay, I'm at the part of the instructions now that it's just having me, I attached a couple of wires that it told me to, poked it through the bottom of the board and soldered it because they're going to go somewhere. There's a couple of those. And then start putting the wires in that they say, like the blue the yellow center tap one to CT here. There's a ground wire over here that we attach, and it will undoubtedly go to a ground somewhere. Basically, as there's going to be a few more wires here that are going to be connected to the different ones. The key here will probably go to the probably the blue wire for the key line. Anyway, attaching those is pretty straightforward. I mean, it comes right on down. It says now the blue wire goes there, and this wire goes there. So so I will proceed with that and get it to where probably the board is mounted. So we'll see. The tricky part that I saw in the instructions, which is interesting, is this AC1 and AC2. Okay, those are that black wire. We're going to be taking off that black wire, adding a black wire to the switch, and running it to probably AC2, because I saw that it was supposed to crisscross. So that's going to be hooked to AC2, and then AC1 will probably be that black wire going off in this direction. They have you crisscross it so it's easier to get it out and do some work on it, which is good. And if you look at the back of the board, while we still have it where we can, you can see that, okay, here's where the power connects from here to here, okay, and there's two big pads there, probably to help dissipate heat a little bit, and that goes to the relay. So basically the relay is leaving this in line so that the resistor will be in line with these two until the relay closes, which shorts out the resistor and gives you the full power. So there's that 2.5 seconds of this heating up, because it's taken a lot of the brunt off of the switch there and the tubes, and letting them start up slowly. And then the relay clicks, and by that point the tubes are already, I don't know, 70% warmed up, and the switch is already switched, but it's switched to lower voltage, so it's more likely to last longer, and that's the whole idea. So I've been anxious to do this, because every time I turn on my amp, it's like, is that the last time that switch is going to work? Probably not, but you know, why not be paranoid? It doesn't cost anything. Now the next step, we're in the home run here. We don't have the board quite mounted yet, and home run, or I should say, or on the run. Took off the black wire from this corner one here. Okay, this is the on and off switch back here. Took the black wire off of that and put the supplied end connector on it and soldered it really well. Okay, so that's in place and ready to go. Okay, the next step is going to take this that came with it. It's not going to be coiled up, but you notice it has the end already on it. This will connect to here and then run back to the board. So that'll be the two things that are connected across the board. Should be a nice smooth thing. And then that uses screws to mount it to this corner and the other corner, because the board mounts like this. So each of these, the AC1 and the AC2. So I'll meet you back when I've got those done. So it's a tight fit with this coax here, but underneath here, I've got the wire going from the, I soldered the new wire to the switch. It comes around and connects to this with the solder lug underneath. And then the wire that used to go there comes down here, kind of loops around, and, oh, I'm sorry, comes down here, it loops around a little bit because there's some extra, and it's connected to here. That makes it easier if you take this, you know, if you end up having to take this off to make changes to it, you've got plenty of room. They're not like tight. And the reason you might need to do that is because the bias adjustment here is just a wire that's soldered onto one of these connections. Okay, depends on what bias that your tubes need. The older tubes are going to need a different amount than newer ones. I just grabbed one and made a note in the book. I put it on number 4. It's just random because it's like one of them, it's just tack soldered on. Basically, you don't put it through a hole or anything. So it's really easy to move it to another one. Not so easy when it's underneath this big piece of coax. So being able to move this is kind of important. Now we still have 2 more wires to go. I don't remember. I know the black one goes to ground. I don't remember what the other one does. Of course, I'll follow the instructions. But my next stage is to use the screws to bolt it down. There's 2 larger screws for here and 2 smaller screws for the other side. So I'm going to do that now, and then we'll check out those last 2 wires. Okay, well, mounted the board. Okay, 2 screws here and a couple of screws over here. Make sure those are nice and tight. Move things back and forth as best I could. I left this wiring on the top. I probably could have gotten it underneath if I wanted, but this is only going to be heating up for 2.5 seconds, so I don't think it's going to get that hot. And let's see. See, inside there is where that wire is going to have to change. So, you know, if I need to change it to some other biasing setting. So getting this back out of here is important. So I left these leads a little longer. These are the 2 wires that last ones to connect, a ground wire and one to the 24 volts here, and both of those connect to these, which are empty pretty much. They were clear and easy to connect to. I pulled some of the wiring back a little bit, the yellow one and stuff, so there wasn't a lot of extra here, although there's enough to pull out if I need it. Same with the blue wire that came over here for the keying circuit. So that's it. It's done. Now the instructions talk a lot about maybe oiling the fan, giving it a few drops of oil if it hasn't been oiled in a while, and tightening these pins, which I plan on doing. I'm going to pull the tubes out and very carefully make it so these are tighter, because when I wiggle it around, they kind of look like they're not as tight as they should be. So I'm going to do that with these. They're in pretty good shape, I think, but I'm going to try really hard not to mess one up. And it's been pretty much dusted off and stuff, so it should be good. I'm going to clean the glass around the tubes. So, all right. Well, I hope that helped. I had nothing other than these instructions to go by, which were very detailed. I mean, I'm very happy. I still have some stuff to check off here, but they did a great job. The board is nice, and I'll show it to you in operation in just a split second. All right. So completed my first major restoration project. Hopefully the first of many. It's kind of fun. A little scary taking an amplifier that works just fine and ripping into it and then hoping it works just fine. Here's the rest of my Drake, so works good. I don't have it set up to key because I have the key line here because I'm going to check it and make sure that that works okay. The part of the Harbach mod is to, there's 3 steps. One is to make it so the on and off switch doesn't have the full 220 blasting through it every time you turn it on, because you can't get this pair of switches anymore. The other thing is to bias off the tubes when it's not in use or it's not keyed, and that'll make it run a lot cooler. Oh, and this will have a 2.5 second delay between, gives it about half power, a little more than half power, and then the relay clicks in 2.5 seconds. So we should hear that when I turn it on. The other thing it does is it does a soft key, so I can plug that into a 7300 or any kind of solid state rig that can't handle the high voltage, and it should work fine. But I'll be checking the voltage on this first to make sure it does what it's supposed to do. We may short it out here to see if we can key it, because that should work. Let me see here. Yeah, I'll come up with something. Anyway, all right, let's turn it on, see if some smoke comes out. Did what it was supposed to do. Did you see that? The light was dim and then came back on again, brighter. It's awesome. The tubes are both lit up. Fan's doing well. I oiled it. The manual suggests that if you haven't oiled it recently, you should do it. I looked in the manual. It says you should oil it once a year. It's probably about 58 oilings short of being complete. All right, well, let's see what happens when I turn on full. I think this just gives it a little more B+. Well, let's see where the B+ is, by the way. Plate voltage. Oh, let's see. I gotta get down a ways to see this. Plate voltage. I guess it's times 10, so it's just above 1800, about 1850. So it should be interesting. I think that's about where it's supposed to be. Let's turn it off for a second, and let's let that go up again, because it should come up to about 1500 and then jump up when the relay kicks in. So let's try that. Okay, I'm going to turn it back on here. There we go. Awesome. It's exactly what it's supposed to do. Cool. It didn't seem like 2.5 seconds, but you know, you get to my age, time changes like that. So we'll check the voltage on the soft start here, and there's some instructions on, you know, what to look for. I think when it's keyed, there's a certain draw somewhere. There's the rest of the instructions tells me to you know, to check and make sure that the plate amperes in probably in resting current should be between 120 and 180 mils. Okay, so let's see. That's grid current. It's 0 because I'm not keyed up. Okay, well, I'll be able to check that, but that's the last thing you have to do. And if it's not between those two, then you need to move that wire on that set of diodes to try and get it to match in there to make it work properly. Other than that, we're good to go. I might add a little transmission on this one at the end when I get the thing hooked up.